The Garden Report is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
People jumped all over me the other day when I was talking about Tatum needing to play better because you can't count on role players. And by role players just meant supporting cast. Not that he's not out there, playing the role of, friggin' he's not PJ Tucker, like he's a really good player, almost fringy all-star level sort of player who's going to get, all defensive consideration and, has carried the team offensively multiple times during the year. But you can't expect it out of White. And he does go hot and cold at times. And that's just not him. He's not that guy who you can count on for 30 a night. So when you are, that's a bailout. When he's you don't want to see the extremes because those are harder to come back from. But you have to factor in tonight between Horford and White, two guys that you're counting on to do a lot, especially with Porzingis gone, being non-factors offensively for much of the night, if not all of the night, kind of put a strain on everybody else to get things going here. I mean, they tried to get some of these guys involved, and it just wasn't working. I mean, Al got 7 shots up. He got as many shots up as Jaylen in the second half. 4 threes, missed them all. It was just hard. And the same thing. White was trying, just couldn't get it going.
And they were good looks. I mean, there was one where Tatum drove into the paint, drew 2 or 3 defenders, kicked it to Al in the corner. Al had time to set up, get his feet, spin the ball, grab a snack, raised up, and it was a brick. And it was that kind of game for him. So it's definitely noteworthy. The level of concern just depends on where you are with Al and what he's doing outside of scoring the ball. But
it's not even concern. I just think you have to factor that into why tonight was difficult. It's easy to put it on the slowdown and stuff that happened and always look at the big dogs here and not like their fourth quarter. But I mean, that really hurt them. Those guys couldn't get it going. You missed Jaylen for a chunk there when he caught that fourth foul. You look at that entire second half, they were brutal. They shot 36% from the field, 31 from 3 in the second half. I mean, it just wasn't good. I mean, 47 points. It was just they sputtered the whole time there. So offensively, it just didn't look it didn't look good for a lot of the night.
Yeah, and it's gonna be tough on certain nights in this postseason against a team like this, especially. And we go back to winning different ways here, right? Because when Tatum was struggling in those early games, we said, "Oh, good thing the role guys are picking him up because if they weren't, they'd be losing these games." Now the role guys struggle in a game like this, and Tatum, Brown have to lead the way, and they did here.
Right. And that's why we were killing them earlier. Is those guys have to be the guys most nights, right? Not killing them, but just putting a lot on them. That's what you make the big bucks for.
And now after watching Tatum tonight and Saturday night, again, it's the same argument we always have with people, John. It's like, this is the more in line with the Tatum that people should be wanting to see
from an approach, for sure.
Yeah, from the approach, not the one that we saw to start this playoff series that everyone is insisting on telling us. Well, look at everything else he's doing. No, we have eyes. We know what good Tatum looks like, or top 5 Tatum looks like to an extent, and this is much more in line with that player than what we had seen previously.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Bobby, is there something wrong with Derrick White? Like physically?
Yeah, what was the story when he left the court for a little bit, came back? It was confusing because it looked like he went out with trainers into the tunnel, and I was like, uh-oh. And at that point, Brown had just come out with his 4th foul, and Al was bordering on unplayable, and now White was headed for the tunnel, and Cleveland was starting to make a run here. It was about 7 points. I was like, oh, God, this is bad. And then he came right back, sat on the bench, and nothing happened. But did you see him get hurt? What happened?
There was a play midway through the 4th where he chased the ball out of bounds and went pretty hard into the stands. Saw him stumbling around a little bit after that. But other than that, I didn't see too much. And then he came out and hit the 2 free throws after that. But no, nothing that I saw there. I mean, he's prone to get it banged up through the course of a game just based on his playing style there. So maybe something came up, but he's usually just going to roll right through it. I don't think that had anything to do with his performance tonight. I think he just missed some shots. And, again, the ball flowed toward Holiday tonight, and it was his night. He talked about that a little bit too. He was bad in those first 2 games, he said. White picked him up. In a game like this, White didn't have it. We didn't get those opportunities. And Holiday, who I think more and more looks like a great kind of mismatch hunter. Like, I remember the game in Denver where he was going at Jokic late in that game. Tonight, he got Garland a lot of the time and was able to make him pay or manipulate some help and get it to a guy like Cornette in the paint for, a nice trip to the free throw line there.
Shit, he went at Mobley in game 3, he's like, I'm going to put my shoulder in his sternum, knock him back 3 feet and shoot a lefty hook over this 7-footer here. And he's pretty fearless when it comes to that. He's so strong, physical, but also quick enough to be able to contort, twist, turn just enough to get that shot off. He can almost do that against most people, but when he's got somebody who's lighter and smaller, he can absolutely, muscle him down and do that. It's a real weapon, and he does see it, and he just goes right to it. He's like, all right, I'm backing him down.
I'm not concerned about what he's shooting 50%.
I'm not concerned. I'm simply just saying it's a variance.
It's going to come down to earth. Yeah. It's going to come down to earth when you're shooting at that level.
It's not a concern thing. He might go off for 35 next game, but that variance. He's been really hot and cold here with these games. We're just mainly pointing out. That's why it's so important for Tatum and Brown to be on point every night, or as close to it as possible.
I mean, you can't rely on him to drive you a championship. Like I said, it'd be cool if he won Finals MVP just because of the contributions he's made and the massive role he's played, if he's able to contribute at that level. But realistically, you're not going to have a role guy go off through the length of the playoffs and carry you to a championship while Tatum shooting 40%, which is why we made the deal we did about Tatum playing at that level. So that's really the story of the last 2 games in many ways here is Tatum finding himself, finding a level of aggression, playing through a little bit of a shooting struggle, some increased turnovers over the last couple of games I'm okay with because he played with that level of aggression. And, Brown sort of has rolled with that too here. I just think it's so important to see him play with a downhill mentality too here in these games. These were really tough, challenging performances and a tough environment for him to play in. And he came through great here.
Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.